Hello book lovers, and welcome to another edition of The Beauty of Books, a series dedicated to, you guessed it, books. Now, today is a very special day. You're in for a treat today. Why? I'll tell you. Today is April 1st, 2018. Why is April 1st so special? Well, I'll give you 3 reasons. 1, it's April Fool's Day. 2, it's Easter Sunday. And 3, it's my brother's birthday, my brother Sean. He would have been 56 years old today. So, I would like to do a tribute to my brother Sean with these 3 special things. Another thing that makes today special is it's my 3rd episode of this series. So 3 is a magic number today. I'll tell you why later on. So, today is Easter. What do you do on Easter? You consume chocolate rabbits, you go to church, and you color Easter eggs. And when I was a child, when my brother and I were children, we used to like to color Easter eggs. We used to dip them in the dye, the blue, yellow, green, pink, it was fun. And then we'd let them dry, and then I had a special way of peeling the shell off of the egg, and then I'd eat the egg. But anyway, growing up, one of my favorite colors for the Easter eggs was green. Now, what do you think of when I say green eggs? More particularly, what book do you think of when I say green eggs? If you had said Green Eggs and Ham, you would have been correct. Today's book is Green Eggs and Ham by Ted Geisel. That's the way they pronounced it in German. He grew up in Germany. He was German. He was also better known as Dr. Seuss. Now, a little word about Dr. Seuss. A little history about Dr. Seuss here. He came from a German family. His father was German, and he owned a beer brewery, and this was during World War I. So when Ted was going to school, he would take heat from other students. They'd often call him the drunken Hun. So he kind of had a troubled childhood, and after World War I, his father was forced to shut down the beer brewery because Prohibition was coming up. So he couldn't do that anymore, so he became the head of the local zoo. And the local zoo was near Mulberry Street, which was near where they lived. And Mulberry Street, of course, was Dr. Seuss's first children's book that he wrote. So you can understand how these things would affect his mind and influence his writings later on in life. Now, since we're celebrating 3 different things, April Fool's Day, Easter, my brother's birthday, and it's my 3rd episode, what better way to do a tribute than to do, I will show you 3 copies of the same book. Now, these copies were printed in the 1980s and 1990s. Mind you, the book was first written in 1960. It was first published in 1960, but these books are from the 80s and 90s. And this book is a little bit special because it's smaller than the other 2 books, and I'll tell you why later on in the episode. Anyway, a little bit more about Dr. Seuss. He attended Dartmouth College during Prohibition, and he worked his way up to editor-in-chief of the humor magazine for the college. Because he liked to draw, he liked to write, he wanted to be a college English professor. And that kind of went out the window later on in life. But anyway, while he was editor-in-chief of the humor magazine, he was caught drinking gin on campus. And since it was Prohibition, he was subsequently removed from his post as editor-in-chief. But he continued to contribute to the magazine under pseudonyms. And one of the pseudonyms was just Souse. He would sign his illustrations Souse. And then his father wanted him to study medicine, so he took that, the doctor, and put it in front of the Souse. That was his middle name, of course, and his mother's maiden name. So he became Dr. Souse. Now, most Americans would read that, and they would read it as Seuss. So that's how he became Dr. Seuss. So, let's see. After he graduated college, he actually met his wife in college. Her name is Helen. After college, they got married, and they moved to New York, and Dr. Seuss, Ted, became a very popular, very successful cartoonist and an ad man for different magazines. And one of his most famous ads was for a bug spray called Flit. And his cartoon that he drew was a guy spraying bug spray, and the caption underneath it was, "Quick, Henry, the Flit." So for years and years, Dr. Seuss was known as the Flit Man. Now, he wasn't a children's author at this point. Later on, he did do one. He did the Mulberry book, but when World War II came about, he joined the army, and he did training films for the American soldiers. And he collaborated with another famous cartoonist by the name of Chuck Jones. You might know him from Bugs Bunny cartoons. So you have two famous cartoonists doing training films. And then after World War II, of course, they both went on to be famous cartoonists. And they also did a movie together, 5,000 Fingers of... that's another episode. Anyway, eventually Dr. Seuss got a job with Random House Books as an author, but his first book for Random House was not a children's book. His first book was actually an adult book with illustrations of naked women. And the book was called The Seven Lady Godivas. Now, this book was, of course, not a children's book, and it wasn't very popular. It was actually kind of a failure. But he continued to be an author with Random House. And so, we're talking about a chain smoker, an alcoholic, a sexual pervert, and an adulterer. See, his wife committed suicide while he was having an affair with another woman named Audrey. More about that later, but his wife, Helen, her health was giving out, and that contributed to her committing suicide, but she was also grieving over her husband's affair with this other woman. So she overdosed on sleeping pills. But anyway, so sounds like a really nice guy, doesn't it? Very unlikely children's author, but he did indeed become one of the most famous children's authors of all time. Now, later on in his career, he was challenged to do a book, a children's book, to outdo all of the other children's books at the time. And he was limited to, his publisher limited him to 225 words. And that's how he came up with The Cat in the Hat. Now, The Cat in the Hat was probably his best known book, and that's the book that made him famous. But it was this book right here, Green Eggs and Ham, that was actually his best-selling book. Now, after the success of The Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss was challenged again by his publisher to outdo The Cat in the Hat, but this time he was only limited to 50 words. He could only use 50 small words that children would understand and want to read more. So he took those 50 words and he worked day and night, chain smoking and drinking vodka in his studio, and he eventually came up with Green Eggs and Ham. And this book became very popular. It increased his fame. I'll give you just a couple ideas, a couple of examples of why this book is so popular. Ted Cruz, the senator, he read this book to the Senate as part of a filibuster. Hip-hop artist and actor will.i.am got his name from this book. Reverend Jesse Jackson recited some of this book on Saturday Night Live soon after the passing soon after Dr. Seuss died. The movie I Am Sam, starring Sean Penn, was influenced by this book. And also, there is an upcoming Netflix series based on this book called Green Eggs and Ham. And the series, one of the executive producers of the series is comedian Ellen DeGeneres. So this is a very popular book, very popular in pop culture. It was Dr. Seuss's best-selling book, a very great, funny book. They also made cartoons out of this book for television. So this is a great book. And I'm going to show you 3 different copies of this book. Now I would like to turn it over to Hans, who's going to show these books for us. Are you ready, Hans?
Okay, there's our books. And there's Hans. Hi Hans, Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. That's the German pronunciation. Americans pronounce it Seuss, Dr. Seuss. Now, Dr. Seuss had other pen names. He wrote several books as Theo Lessig, which is Geisel spelled backwards, and he wrote one book, Because a Little Bug Went Ka-Choo, under the name Rosetta Stone. These books were written by Dr. Seuss, but not illustrated by Dr. Seuss. They were illustrated by other people. I'm not quite sure why he did it, for trying to go into different markets, I guess. But there's 3 different copies of this book. Yes, they all end the same. I can't remember where I got these books, and I'm not sure how much they're worth today. I found them on eBay, Etsy, and Amazon with the prices ranging from $6 to over $200. So I'm not sure exactly how much they're worth, but there are prices on the back covers. I'll show you later. Yes, there's spines are different. The smaller book has a different spine, if you notice. The 2 books on the right were printed in, this one was printed in 1980s. See, the price is $6.95. I never peeled off the price tag. And this one was printed in the 90s. The price was $8.99. Notice these both have ISBN numbers. And they're both the same size. These were sold in stores. Now the one on the left, you notice, is a little bit smaller than the others. It was not sold in stores, and this book is actually from a book club. And this might be worth a little bit more than the other books, I'm not sure. And there's no price tag on this book, and there's no ISBN number in this book. So I have no idea actually when it was printed or how much it cost. But one thing I do know is that it was printed from the Grolier Club. Notice it says this belongs to, and in fine print the illustration says illustration copyright Dr. Seuss 1957. You only see that in this Grolier Book Club edition. Now, like I said, this is published in 1988 and it's not sold in stores. You might find it online for different prices. Now, the Grolier Book Club is in New York and was established in 1884 and still has exhibitions of rare and very old books today. You can check grolierclub.org for a current schedule of exhibitions. You notice there's no ISBN number. Yeah, the other books have ISBN numbers. That means it won't be sold in stores. Now, let's see. If it's signed by Dr. Seuss, it's probably worth a lot more. Anyway, this book, copyright 1960 by Theodore S. Geisel and Audrey S. Geisel. Now this is very strange to me because the book was published in 1960, but he didn't marry Audrey until 1968. His first wife was Helen. She was also an author, and they got married in 1927, and she committed suicide in 1967, and then a year later he married Audrey Stone Diamond, and she took the name Audrey S. Geisel. But that was in 1968, so I'm not sure why her name is on the 1960 copyright. 1968, yes. He died, of course, in 1991. The copyright was renewed in 1988 by Theodore Geisel. Now, books copywritten between 1964 and 1967, yeah, the copyright renewal is optional. Books published before in 1909, books published under the 1909 copyright before 1978, the copyrights expire and they must be renewed every 28 years. After the law was amended in 1978, 1992, and 1998, and it gets very confusing after that. The VWX 6789, I think that's an identifier number only on Grolier book editions. Beginner books. Sam I am Sam. Okay, now this second book, like I said, it was published in the 80s. You can buy it in stores because it has an ISBN number. It's a little bit different than the other book. See, this one has originally the Library of Congress as follows. Originally cataloged by the Library of Congress, Geisel, Theodore, Seuss, New York, Beginner Books, distributed by Random House. B16, notice that. B16 means it's the 16th book, 16th title that he wrote. He wrote, over 20, 30, 40, 50 books, but this is the 16th book. And notice in the ISBN number, the 16 on the ISBN number means this was the 16th title in the series. Yeah, B16 means, I guess, Beginner Book 16. 1960, Theodore Geisel and Audrey Geisel. Yeah, it's the same as in the other book. Renewed 1988 by Theodore Geisel. Now the cat, yeah. Notice the binding on this book. It's stitched. It's not glued because it's a hardbound book. The pages are very thick in this book. This book is smaller, so it's a little bit harder to see the stitching. And like I said, it was bound a little bit differently than the other two books. And that's because this is a Grolier special edition book. Again, the pages are still very thick, but it's hard to see the stitching. Just there's the binding. The book's still in very good condition because it's been sitting on the shelf. It hasn't left the house. Yeah, see that the binding is a little bit different in this book. The pages are still very thick in this book. I guess because they know kids are going to be reading it, so they make the pages extra thick. And there you can see the stitching. See the stitches in the binding. A little bit more about that later in the episode. But this book was made to last, and it has lasted. Here you can see this the stitching in the cover. I might do an edition about how our books are bound, but that's not important right here. Maybe in a later episode I'll do that. Now here's the third book. This one was published. See, the price was $18.99. Notice the web address, randomhouse.com. Now this indicates to me that it was published in the 1990s because there was no www before in 1991. The web address on the back cover will indicate that. And randomhouse.com wasn't created until 1993. I did a Who Has lookup. So this book was published probably in 1993 or later. I'm thinking it was 1993. And notice also, instead of Audrey, this renewed by Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Dr. Seuss Enterprises was established in 1993, the same year as the website. And this was done by his wife Audrey because he died in 1991, and his wife Audrey took over the business 2 years after his death. And some argue that Audrey exploited the work of Dr. Seuss after he passed away. There was more commercialism of his items, movies and stuff like that. Other people say that he was happier and he dressed better while he was married to Audrey. I don't know. You be the judge. Now, the original copy of Dr. Seuss said 50 word vocabulary underneath that beginner books. You won't see that on the later books. So let's read this book, okay? You notice illustrations show the action moving to the right. Now, Dr. Seuss was very, he studied this. This is to make the book more interesting. This makes you want to turn the page. It also subconsciously makes people want to keep reading the book. While he was working in a studio, Dr. Seuss would hang his sketches on the wall and then sit down and examine how the pictures flowed from left to right. And so that's why you'll always see action moving to the right in Dr. Seuss books to make you want to turn the page. And there you go. There's an example of how the sketches flow together. This is how he would put this on the wall. Notice there's no page numbers on some of the pages. When the illustration bleeds off the page, they would leave the page number off some of the pages. I do not like green eggs and ham. There's no page number. There's a page number. Do you like green eggs and ham? Notice the hands and the feet. They'll change in all the other. There's the action moving to the right again. Make you want to turn the page. Then when you turn the page, you see a page number. Notice his hand, and there's page 13. He says, I do not like green eggs and ham, Sam I am. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Talk to the hand. You notice later in the book, I'll point this out, his hands change throughout the book. Watch the illustrations. There's a page number. This episode is going to be kind of long because I'm going to go through the whole book and there's going to be a lot of information packed into this. There's page 15. And this guy's getting irritated with Sam I Am now. There's a page number, and there's the green eggs and the ham. And look, and notice his hands. Talk to the hand. Notice his fingers. He's got 3 fingers, and 3 fingers and a thumb. Right? That's what I see. And his feet are kind of messed up. Dr. Seuss often admitted that he couldn't draw, and that's why his characters always look so funny. There's a page number. Would you like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse? Would you like them a mouse with a curly tail? That makes the mouse more interesting. How many mouses do you know that have curly tails like that? There's no page number. There's a page number on that page. Now let's see, yeah, good idea, Hans. Let's see if it's like that in the other books. No page number. Page number. No page number. Yep, it is the same in all the books. All the editions are the same. No page number. They all have the same number of pages. They all have the same page numbers. Notice his hands are different. Now he has 4 fingers. See that? I don't know, I just thought that it was interesting. You really can't tell how many fingers he has in some of the illustrations. And there's the page number on this page. Would you eat them in a box? Would you eat them with a fox? Would you eat them on page 22? The box is hanging from the tree. I don't know why the box would be hanging from the tree. That's just his sense of humor. Remember, he drank vodka and chain smoked while he created these books. I do not like them, Sam-I-Am. And there's the box hanging from the tree. They're just going to leave it there. And there's a page number. He's getting irritated. And notice the action is moving to the right. Makes you want to turn the page. Now we turn the page. Would you like them in a car? There's no page number. And there's a page number. I would not, could not in a car. Notice his hands. And there. And the action's moving to the right. There's no page number. There's a page number. And the action is moving to the right. Moving to the right. Makes you want to turn the page. Let's see what's on the next page. The action is still moving to the right. There's no page number. I would not, could not in a tree, not in a car. Now let me be. He's getting really irritated now. The action's still moving to the right. And there's page number. Now, let's turn the page. See what happens. The action's still moving to the right. See? A train, a train, a train, a train. Could you, would you, on a train? He's looking kind of worried there. The car is going to hit the train. Happy people on the train. All the people look very happy and content. Notice his hands again. And the action's moving to the right. Not on a train, not in a tree, not in a car. Let me be. There's page number. There's funky looking page, the tracks. There's no page number. Notice the smoke coming out of the engine, and the action is moving to the right. Does he have 4 or 5 fingers here? Can't tell. Would you like them in the dark? Long, spooky tunnel, spooky looking tunnel. Ooh. If you ever have ridden on a train, you'll smell the exhaust from the engine as you go through the tunnel. I would not, could not in the dark. Notice there he has 4 fingers and a thumb here. His hands almost look human in this one. Now, in the rain? Would you, could you in the rain? To me that looks like a cactus with thorns. And notice there's no page numbers. I would not, could not in the rain. And there's the exhaust coming from the train. And the action moving to the right. No page number. There's no page number at all there on that page either. But the action's still moving to the right. Let's see where these train tracks lead. Yeah, good idea, Hans. Let's see what it looks like on the other pages, on the other book. No page number. No page number. There's no page number at all on this, on these pages. No page number. There's flimsy bridge. I do not like them, Sam, I am. Is there a page number? Actions moving to the right. There's a page number. Notice the bridge is not very sturdy and it's tied together with a rope. I wouldn't trust that. Look at that. Tied together with a rope. The people look very content. They still look very happy. The actions moving to the right. Now notice the hookup on the train. The track is on flimsy stilts. There he's got 4, almost 5 fingers on his hand. Notice the track, again, it's on very flimsy stilts. Why does the train track just end? I don't know. Why would a train track just end like that? Boom. Very strange. Notice, yeah, it's very strange, very strange. Now notice the passengers. They're all still happy and content, even though they're free-falling to their doom. And the engineer's all happy. They're getting ready to crash onto the boat, but they don't seem to care. Notice his fingers. He's got, pinky is bigger. I could not on a boat, will not let me be. I do not like him fox, I do not like him anywhere. Notice the word anywhere. That's the longest word in the entire book. All the other words are five characters or less, and that one is longer. And it's capitalized, and it's in big fonts. I'm pretty sure he did that intentionally. And they're all falling. Notice his hands. He's got 4, almost 3 fingers. The pinky's bigger. And look, notice the connecting cars on the train. The hook. There's a hook. And there's no hook on this train. See that? The passengers are all happy as can be again. Even though... See, in this illustration, see there's the hook connecting the train, connecting the cars of the train. There's the hook, the chain connecting the cars of the train. And notice here, there's no chain. The connector's a little bit different. And they're all falling. The eggs are falling off of the plate, but here the eggs are back on the plate. There's no page number. And now they're crashing into the water, and they're still happy as can be. They're about to drown, but they're still all happy. I do not like green eggs and ham. Notice his fingers. He's only got like 2 or 3 fingers now, and there's no page number. No page number at all. The mouse is going to drown. He's still got a curly tail. Very dark humor in some of these books. And they're children's books. Underwater. Do you like them in the water? I like them in the water. There's no page number. And notice the eggs and the ham are still on the plate. They never fall off the plate. They'd be getting quite soggy by now. There's a page number. Everyone's treading water here. They're all treading water. I don't know how they're treading water, but they are. And the eggs haven't fallen off. And the engineer is still trying to drive the train. There's a page number. Action moving to the right. Now notice his hands. There's no page number. How many fingers does he have? Can't tell. There's the mouse. An engineer still trying to drive the train. There's a page number. Page number. They're all treading water still. How did he get over there? He's still trying to drive the train. Now, look at his hands. Sam I Am seems to have 6 fingers on his right hand and 4 fingers on his left hand. And notice page number. And notice the fork. It's straight in this illustration, and it's really bent, crooked in the other illustration. See that? Almost like a different fork. After he eats the egg, then the fork mysteriously straightens out. And notice his fingers. Notice he's got like 6 fingers on one hand and 4 fingers on the other hand. He's got 6 fingers on his right hand and 4 fingers on his left hand. And they're all happy because he ate the green eggs and ham. He likes green eggs and ham now. He already ate one egg, and now he's going to eat the other egg. And notice the action's still moving to the right. And notice the word anywhere, very, very large. The longest word in the book. I do so like green eggs and ham. He ate the ham, he ate the eggs, I guess he ate the bone too. And notice, you really can't tell how many fingers he has here. Page number. Thank you, Sam I Am. Notice the blank page at the end of the book. These are known as signatures. This has to do with the way the pages were folded before the binding process. Now, paper books are a little different because they're glued and not stitched. Some publishers use this blank page to add an author bio or promote upcoming books. Sometimes it's just left blank. Some books can have more than one blank page. It's all about the way you plan before you bind the book. Technical publications you'll see on the blank page it says, "This page intentionally left blank," so the reader knows that there's no important information missing from the book. It wouldn't really be considered a blank page now, would it? All the pages, books have the same amount of pages. They all have the same page numbers. But the back covers look different. And there's the 3 books, 3 copies of my Green Eggs and Ham books in my collection. Thank you, Hans. Thank you again. There's the Grolier book. There's the 1993 book. And there's the middle book. Thank you, Hans. Goodbye.
That wasn't too painful now, was it? I thought it was quite entertaining, quite educational. This is certainly a great book. And thank you for enduring this kind of long episode, this special episode of The Beauty of Books. I hope you'll join me again next time.